Turn down the lights, lock the door. It's time for DJs After Dark.
Hey everybody, welcome to DJs After Dark. My name is Danny J. I am right here on the DJB Productions Network. Make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Leave us some comments. As always, we want you to share the channel, etc., etc., etc. Joined today, we got my good man, Mr. Rob Cannon.
What's up, everyone?
Rob Cannon in the house.
Yeah.
We got Mr. Matt Sutter.
Good morning from south of the Mason-Dixon.
We have Dr. Rock Ray Thomas.
Good morning. Masks and condoms, everybody.
And then also we got special guests today from 102.9 WMGK, rock jock extraordinaire, Chris Gordon. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me.
All right, we're very excited. Thank you so much.
I can tell. I can feel it. I can just feel the energy.
Just feel it right here, you know. So anyway, today it's DJs After Dark. We have a great show lined up for you guys today. As always, we want to deliver some comedy. We didn't deliver some music news. We deliver all kinds of stuff.
Are we doing something different this week?
No, yeah, I know, exactly. And we're real excited because we have Chris Gordon on here from WMGK, so that's going to be an awesome thing too.
Nice to meet you, my friend. Right on.
Thank you.
So thank you for coming on here. Now, Chris, if you would, I'm going to bring you real big real quick. If
Okay.
you could let us know your beginnings of getting into radio, stuff like that. We talked offline. Your father was in the business, that type of thing. Give us just a little brief rundown of that, if you would.
Yeah, really brief. My father was in the business. He was on KYW, PEN for years. Jim Gordon, James Gordon.
Yeah.
Depending on his mood on that day. Well, back in the 70s, he would take me on PEN live with him. This is back when they had engineers running the board while he was doing his thing. And so I didn't know. You know, I was still into Star Wars at the time. I had no idea what he was doing. I just knew that I was sitting next to him.
Right.
Fast forward many years later, in 2017, my band, the Mad Trio, won the house band contest for MGK.
Oh, cool.
And so we did this run, and at the end of our run, they called me in and they said, "Hey, would you guys want to come in and do a radio spot for the next competition?" So I said, "Sure." So they give me the address to the studio in Ballackinwood. I drive over, and they're walking me through the studio. They're giving me a tour, and I stopped the guy. I was like, "I know exactly where I am. This is my dad's old studio." And so they took me into the studio to the voiceover. It was my dad's actual studio from 1977.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
So they hand me this copy, and I'm looking at the copy, and they hit the record button, and I just threw the copy over my shoulder. I just riffed on it. Got it done. By the time I get home, I had a message from the program director asking me if I'd ever be interested in getting into radio. Of course, I was like, I could never follow my father because he,
Right.
my father had that voice, that. Anyway, so long story short, that's how it happened. And they just kind of threw me in the studio. And the crazy thing is they're like, this button does this. This button will do that. Hey, have a good show.
That's the way it was done, Chris. They just threw you out there, and you just watched the board.
Yeah,
you go to that DJ school. What's it called, Ray? That you went to?
Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Yeah.
No, I went to American Academy of Broadcasting with Long John Wade and all those guys down in Philly, and I got to meet like all the WFIL boss jocks, if you remember that, and
Right.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I said this from the day I started with them, and I say that to this day, man. I'm still a stranger in a strange land. I don't have the experience or the education, but for some, they just said, "Hey, come on in and do this." So I guess, yeah. And I guess I got that from my father, and I also got my articulation from my father. It's funny, when I was growing up, one time I hurt myself or something. Anyway, I was just like, that fucking thing. Yeah, I was like 12. And my father comes into the room and he goes, "I'm sorry, could you repeat that?" And I was like, "Oh man, I'm in trouble." And he goes, "If you're going to use these words, at least fucking announce them properly."
Yes.
Fucking.
Do you remember breathe from the diaphragm when you were talking? Make sure that you were articulate.
And I don't do that too. I'm not really good with that technique, but my father just had that. My father never, we never there was never corporal punishment in my house growing up because all my father had to do was raise his voice and you peed yourself.
Right.
You know, because he just
called respect back in the day.
Well, yeah, there was that.
Yeah.
My father called it filial fear. You know,
That's
because
crazy.
I don't care how much bigger you get than me, I'm still your dad.
That's the way I was raised too.
That's true.
Yeah.
Now, how do you like it? I know you still do some live band work and stuff like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is the DJ gig more of passing the time, getting money?
No,
into
no.
the gig, or do you like it more? What's your feeling at?
I was had a conversation once when they first brought me in with the amazing Tony Harris, who has been such a mentor to me, and as has Andre Gardner. And Tony's
God, Andre rocks, yeah.
And so Tony says to me, he goes, "Hey, you gonna be okay in that room for 5 hours talking into a stick?" And I was like, I didn't think about that, but I spend 8 hours a day in my recording studio, not talking into a stick, but probably yelling at computers.
Right.
So, but when I got into it, when I started doing it, I mean, it's not passing the time. I absolutely love it. As this goes back to what I had said earlier, I feel that there's so much I have to learn. You know what I mean? I mean, there's so much more for me to. I mean, I don't consider myself a disc jockey. I don't consider myself with what you guys do. Like you guys you command a microphone. You're on that microphone. Look, I still take little notes so I don't fall off track and go down the rabbit hole. You know.
Good idea.
But I don't. You know. I mean, I absolutely love it, and I love it because I'm one of these guys that do not like to be micromanaged. I love being alone in what I do.
Yeah.
So when I'm in that studio at night, there's no one there. You know, I'm alone, and I like that. I like that a lot.
There's not even an engineer anymore, Chris.
Nope, it's just me.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, the engineer.
Well, that one engine I was telling you about my father. What he would do in the morning, because my dad did this crazy morning shift, is he would sit behind the glass and he would start rifling really filthy jokes to my dad, trying to get him to break or laugh before he went live. And my dad was like, nothing. Until one day, I happened to be sitting there and he laid out this joke. I was too young to really get it. But Dad lost it. And he looks over at me and he's biting his lip and he goes, "Get out. Just get out." You know, it kicks me out of the studio right before he goes live because he couldn't keep it together, you know. But no, I've never worked with an engineer, so I don't.
Well, speaking of engineering, I'm trying to bring Eddie C in, and I'm getting a terrible echo every time he comes in. So I keep popping him back out again. Ed, I'm going to try to bring you in one more time here. Ed, are you there?
Now he's just a blur.
Now he's just a blur.
I wonder if his mic's working too good now, and we're backfeeding through his mic.
I have a feeling that that's the case, Ed. If you could hear us, that's what's happening. But no, this is awesome. And the funny thing is, because I'm a classic rock DJ by preference myself. So I'm Ed's letting me messages. He's getting pissed.
Black bar playing all R&B and hip hop, right there.
But you know what? That's what we do. You know, that's the whole thing. That's what we do. It's how we get everything together.
We gotta be flexible.
A real DJ has to be flexible. Got to be able to play anything.
You don't have to love everything, but you have to have respect for everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me ask
you have to at least know what
you're talking
people
about.
who like that are liking.
Chris, let me ask you this though.
Yeah.
Back in the day when I first started and I was on 89.3 FM back in 1990 and stuff like that, we had a visit from Andy Geary, who was the second host of Dancing on Air and Dance Party USA, and he was working at I think he was working on 102 Q102 at the time, and the horror stories that I got from Andy was about, like, you know, constantly just being traveling. If your show sucks, you're out of there and you got to go to another market and blah blah blah. Have you had that kind of like anxiety, or is your shift kind of like, Chris, as long as you show up, you're good type of thing? Not to say that like don't do a good job, but you know what I mean. Like, are you safe? Are you safe where you're at?
Nobody's safe.
I think that's right. I don't think anyone's safe. I don't have that. I'm not an Andre Gardner presence. I'm not a Debbie Calton presence. Or even now Matt Cord. Those guys have established this kind of persona and whatnot. So, and I haven't been in the business long enough to I'll go in and I'll have my nights where, and it's all self pressure. I'm like, I've just got to be on, and I'm still technically there too. Like, oh man, I better fire the song off. Zeta better not go down on me today. I got to make sure that all of that stuff. But as far as just one of the things that Tony told me that really resonated with me, because when I first got the gig, I was brought on a kind of push and a personality. And I looked a lot different then. I was a big, burly, Viking-looking guy. So I started out with that whole persona. And then Tony really kind of helped me out. He's like, anybody could be the Viking. He goes, but if you're just Chris and you let the music be the star, then it's all good. So, I've been there a while now. I've been there almost 2 years. And I just go in and to what you said, I show up on time. I do my shift. I make sure that I do everything by the book. And my biggest fear, and the only reason I get real nervous before I go on is because I don't know how to work the dump button yet. I am so terrified I'm going to drop it, man. I'm just going to drop the F-bomb and I'm going to.
So there's no phone calls during your show.
No, because I'm not really. Yeah. That whole, I'll do a lot of texting, but the whole phone call thing, man, I'm still catching up to that.
It's just not happening.
It's always that fear factor that you're going to do it. I know. It's always that fear factor.
That's amazing. That's just amazing.
Do you answer the phone while you're on the air?
While
you're talking, but while you're there.
Yeah. So if a phone call comes in, what I tend to do is I'll hit the Vox Pro, and then that whole phone call is recorded.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, so if there are any moments, I can edit those out.
Right.
And then I'll put that together. And then if it was something that was really kind of poignant to what was coming up, or something that I might do later in the shift, I might fire that off as a speed break instead of actually getting on mic.
Right.
I might do that here and there.
Right. And how I would imagine, because when I did radio, it was very relaxed back in the day, because I was in a small scale station anyway. But I would imagine
the local authorities, didn't you?
Yeah, pretty much. And they wanted to be on the air, Are we on? Are we on now? Now I would imagine.
No, I didn't get her name. I understand.
But I would imagine you have obviously your certain spots you have to do. Obviously you have to hit the post. Yeah, post you have to hit when you're doing your verbal promos, that type of thing.
Yep.
How I guess how stringent and how holy shit, I got to nail this. Do you have to be with that?
All of that holy shit, I have to nail this. That's coming from me. That's just kind of my mental state.
Is management pretty not, I want to say lax, but are they, don't worry about it, it's okay? Or
they're just really encouraging.
That's cool.
Yeah, they're just super. Cool. They're the Beasley family are such a great family. They're so cool. And look, I walk in, there's Jackie Bam Bam hanging out, and all the all these guys that have been doing this a long time. And even though Jackie and I were in the same music scene together for years, I was just I felt like, and I don't mean this disparagingly towards me, but I'm like, what am I doing here? These guys are these guys know what they're doing. And I did feel like that for a while, that I was just no one ever did this to me. They were also gracious to me and continue to be. But in my psyche, I was thinking, these guys looking at me going, what is this punk doing here? Why is this guy here?
Right.
What dues has he paid? And I have to reestablish this. No one's ever said that. And they've all been super supportive. Andre, especially. Andre was just
he's such a nice guy.
What a big brother he has been to me, So no, I've had no issues. And with management, they've been super cool.
Chris, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
With most people will tell anybody that's trying to get on radio, oh, you can never start at the top. You got to start from the bottom and work your way up, right? But are you telling us basically you never had any other radio experience? You just got on MGK?
Just got on MGK.
Wow.
That rocks, Chris. That rocks.
Is it because you know somebody?
No, that's the thing. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. Here's the honest truth. When I got that message from the program director, first of all, I got really emotional because it was just like my father had passed away a few years prior.
Right.
And my dad and I had discussions. I never pursued radio, even though I've done a lot of voiceover work in the past here and there, but it was not radio oriented. Right. But I was terrified. I was just like, I don't know. I don't think I can do it. So they just said, come on in. I guess they had a thought, and I just went with it. But I respected it. I respect the opportunity. Like,
you must have been nervous as shit when you first started.
Dude, oh my God,
oh
dude.
my God,
I was
being so afraid.
I was shaking. I was like,
I believe it.
And I felt like I remember and I don't know if you guys felt this way. The first broadcast you ever did was as soon as I hit that live mic and I started to talk, and I know we're on a 40-second delay, but the minute I hit that mic, I felt like I was literally about to bungee jump. Like physically, I felt like this sense of just going over the edge, like, here we go. I mean, I've been on stage and talked into a mic in front of crowds and stuff like that, but I got the guitar on me. It's like I feel safe.
Yeah. It's funny.
When you're on stage, you're performing in front of a few hundred people.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're in a big spot, you're doing, I know you do some of the bars, you do like some festival gigs, outside stuff, but it's that mindset. Now you're going on one of the biggest stations in Philly, and now there's tens of thousands of people listening to you, and you've got that in the back of your head.
Yeah, it's there.
You've got that in the back of your head.
And I don't know about you guys, and this is kind of a question I would throw back to you guys, because I'm very interested in learning this stuff. When you went into radio, did you develop your persona, or was that something that you had in your head? Like, this is I know who just like as a musician.
You know what?
I go out and I play, and I know who I am as a player. Did you guys go into radio knowing who you were, or did that become something?
Let me start this because I started that in '89. I went on the radio for the first time, and I'm like a 16-year-old kid on radio, and they're like, I have an FCC license. I'm an FCC licensed DJ. I went through all the licensing and the testing and stuff like that, and then I got shows, and then I ended up, through 3 years, I ended up being on like several different shows, guest spots on other shows. I ended up being somewhat of a big deal because I really owned what I did in a sense. Yeah. But to answer your question, every single time, because you're saying you're in a studio by yourself, and you're looking at a wall, and you're looking at the carts. I had carts to my left. I had two.
Remember the carts.
I had two Technique turntables to my left. That's where we were playing, because we were still playing albums back then.
Wow.
And I could tell you, I was speaking my inner monologue. So I would say anybody who wants to be a great DJ, talk to yourself. Yeah. If you could talk to yourself, and have your inner monologue make sense to you,
right, then
you can communicate to everybody else, honestly.
Well, that's good, man, because you've been talking to yourself for years, and
I still do.
But you're right, though. You do. I remember going into a room, and you have to practice within yourself. And I always had the outgoing personality, and I prided myself after the guys from WFIL. So I had that little bit of craziness, and I had the turntables and the whole bit. And I think you learn from the bottom up. If you learn how to do turntables when it got to the point where you were doing CDs, and I remember the days with the carts and everything like that, that's great experience. Or doing the farm report out in Wisconsin.
Wow.
Because you learn from what your experience is. But like, just like Chris said, you respect it, you love it, and you do it because, and Chris, one thing I wanted to say to you, you always say, were you the legend like your dad? You're very good at what you do, and you should believe to yourself that you should be there because you're very good at what you do.
Well, now see, thank you.
Now see, I know too, like I started probably shortly after Dan. He actually started in high school. I started in college. So there was 1992, and again, carts, turntables. We actually even had tape decks, which were fun for me.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was at Delaware County Community College, where I was at, the summer before I got there, somebody had broken it and stolen the station's CD players. They actually had nice professional, studio quality CD players, and they got stolen.
You better give me this goodbye.
And the budget basically didn't allow them to replace them. Everything good. So I got in there. They were basically 2 Sony home units.
Wow.
And I know by the end of my second semester, all the buttons on those CD players were being held on with Scotch tape because they were not meant to be hitting play, pause, stop, eject every 6 minutes, for 8-9 hours a day. And like I said, as far as my personality, it definitely developed because I used to record all my shows.
Yeah.
And I can definitely hear from like my first show to like my last show how my personality developed. And I know the thing that was best for me eventually when I decided that I was going to try and actually go into radio is when Connecticut School of Broadcasting opened up their Cherry Hill campus.
Okay.
I ended up going over there, and I remember getting in there and having these people who had worked in radio for years. I was talking with them some of the stuff I did even in college, and they're like, "Well, what are you doing here?"
Right.
They're like, you kind of know how to do this. And I'm like, well, yeah, I just want a piece of paper that says to anybody I'm trying to get a job with that I know how to do it. And it was funny too, because some of the projects I would work on, they would find little small stuff that they would nitpick some of my stuff because they're like going, no, you've kind of done this stuff before. I think there's a whole project they made me redo, and there was a stupid reason why they had for it. And I think it was just because to make me, you did it once, let me see you re-edit it again and have it come out just as good, kind of a thing. But that was really where my persona kind of really came through, because I had some people who had done it for years sitting there saying to me, "You're overthinking it. Just go."
Yeah.
Just go. They're like, you've got the basis for it, but you just need to just forget about it. Like Dan said, think about you're talking to yourself. Think about what you'd be saying if your closest friends were sitting across from you, other than, a wall or a piece of glass or an empty studio. Imagine like you're just talking with your friends. You're here, you're hanging out, and that improved my persona so much more because it was boom. It's me. It wasn't somebody I was trying to portray. It was just me.
It's the difference between reading a script and going ad lib. And all these shows on this DJB Productions Network, you ask any one of these guys on any one of these shows, every single one is ad-libbed. There's not one script that goes to any one of these shows, because I said I want it to be natural. And I learned to be an MC, to be a DJ naturally, and to sit there and try not. And then one guy said to me, he said, listen, I said, what do you think about this name? And I want to do this radio name, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. He said, what? And you, just like everybody's saying, just be you and see what happens. See who you are and see if it comes out and see if people like it. And once I did that, that's why I was on several shows, because everybody else was like, and the time now is 10:43, and it's funny, we called TI 61212 for the time. It's like bullshit like that. And meanwhile, I'm like, hey, everybody, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going on there, and they're like, holy shit, this kid's got it. I don't know why he has it, because I shouldn't have. But I said, you know what? Let me just say, it was almost like being drunk without being drunk.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I
without being high.
Yeah. That's an interesting point, because that's kind of the vibe I go for when I go on. It's just like, okay, how would I be if I had a few cocktails in me?
Yeah.
I'd be like this. Okay. Well, it's funny, because when I did that voiceover for MGK for the house band, I got done the take, and the graphics guy comes running and didn't know him. And he comes in and he looks at Tony, he goes, who the fuck was just reading that? And I thought, I was like, what did I do? And Tony's like, and all Tony did is he just pointed at me. He's like, this guy. And the guy looks at me and he's like, interesting. Walks out. And then an hour later,
to take that as a compliment.
I guess it was, because an hour later I got the message asking me to come in. And
so let's get down to brass taxes. What kind of money are you making over there? Can someone actually survive being a DJ?
Radio,
it depends. It depends on your means of living. If you're, someone that likes to have, 5 bedrooms. I don't as far as even guys like the full-time guys. I don't know what they mean.
Yeah.
I mean they're generous to me. I mean,
Okay. There
wasn't a moment where I was like, really, that's it. That never happened. I was like,
oh cool.
Wow. My response was like, oh Jesus, because I'll be honest with you guys. At that point when they were offered, I was like, I would just come in and do it.
Yeah, right, yeah, voluntarily.
You weren't like Danny J selling autographed pictures out in front of the building and pencils and everything else that you had.
$20, whatever you want for $20.
They asked for change back, didn't they?
I'll buy you.
Yeah.
I'll buy you a whiskey if you come in and do the show. Okay.
It's kind of like it's kind of like the last show that we did, and we were talking about like strip clubs. It's like the first couple times, strip clubs, I'm sitting there going, wait a minute. So every other schmuck in this place is paying money to see these girls do this, and you're paying me to watch them and push buttons.
Matt, you were one
okay. It's like that's the definition of the American dream as far as a man. It's like going, wait a minute, I'm getting paid to play music for women to get naked or half naked, and at the end of the night, they give me money.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's funny because
why would I do anything else?
You almost want to stay quiet about it. You're almost like, oh,
you're like I won't tell nobody you gave me that money.
Like I'm watching this girl in the background giving me the eyes with the drink. That's kind of
yes. Oh, I see her. Yeah, I went off to the right. Look at her. She's crazy, that bitch.
I want to say
she ain't spilling a drop of that either, is she?
MGK, Chris, one of the things Dan asked you was about money. Let's face it, we don't want to really know what you make, but the bottom line is, if they say we're going to give you $5 an hour, and you're on a major rock station, going to get all the publicity, the fame, everything that comes with it, I mean, obviously $5 an hour, no one's going to live off of that. But I know a DJ, and Dan knows him also. I don't know if you want to mention his name. He used to work for us. He went working for a radio station, and Dan will back this up, for $10 an hour, right? Worked 25 to 30. He actually made more money working for us as a DJ, and he got the offer to go back. And it was for $10 an hour. And I said,
again.
What do you want to do that for? And you know what he said? The stardom, more or less. Like he loved being in front of thousands.
And then on top of that $10 an hour, he would have to go out and do the appearances.
Well, he got paid extra for that.
Well, I mean, he did, but I mean, not much extra. But here's the deal, though. He was not the star.
Right.
He was the background second, third guy on a show.
Yeah, he did get his own shift, though.
He did get his own shift, but but nobody listened to that.
He did start out on a morning show. But no, it was a pretty popular station. Maybe not as popular as MGK.
As far as I know, it was pretty popular, and he actually had some local fame from it. He really did. I mean, I'm kidding around with him, but because I know he's watching the show. So
yeah. After this now.
I remember I made pretty good money, and I still have R&L frisbees in my closet and stuff like that. So
I'm throwing it out the window.
Right,
but they keep coming back.
Right, when you worked for the station in Wildwood, WMGK,
right.
Did you get paid a lot for that? Not really. Right?
I thought for a guy that was at that particular time that was only like 21 or 19 and 20. I thought that was pretty good, but again, it comes down to the popularity. Like you could walk down the boardwalk in Wildwood, and people would go, "There goes Dr.
Well, you know what though? You kind of put a period on what Chris said though. It's like I would have just came in here and did this. You know what I mean? When the awe of what the job is overshadows what you're going to pay me for it, that's when you got somebody.
It's kind
I rocked for the free pieces of Max Pizza that was on the boardwalk.
Right.
Dan, here's kind of like our karaoke girl. She does it more for the fun of it and not for the money. And after a while, Chris, anybody that's working a shift like you, you're going to see that people appreciate you. And then eventually, no matter what you started at, you're going to be like, shit, I need more money. This ain't even worth the fame. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, right. And I
want that.
I it's a well put point. And to kind of go on with that, my thing was, first of all, it was the legacy of my father. That to get a little metaphysical about it. It was the legacy of my dad. It was like, oh wow, I have this opportunity. I honestly believed I was going to go in there. I was going to kind of learn what to do, and I would maybe do 6 months or whenever.
Yeah.
And I didn't believe that the phone would continue to ring. And when it did, I was like, and then I was going to the events with the crew and with the DJs and stuff. And so at that point, it's not so much about the fame, because I don't really have it. I'm not walking. My neighbor, he knows me. Right. He listens to me, but I don't walk down the street and
people come running up after you.
Right.
Doesn't happen. But that's okay, because the other great thing about doing my shift is first of all, I do love the music, classic rock. I mean, grew up on it. Half of the songs, if not almost all of the songs that I play on my shift, I've taught them. I've actually taught kids how to play these. So that's kind of my thing, where I've done that, where after a Hendrix song, I'll go, here's the secret to playing that riff.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah, I'll nerd out, and that's where I kind of found my footing, where it's like I have such a blast because I'm listening to this stuff and I'm listening to these killer mixes of this music. So for 5 hours, I'm in there, and I've played on the air. I'll have my guitar with me sometimes. I'll plug it in.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
I'm live, and I'm just like I did that on. I actually taught the guitar solo to Hotel California after we played it. So
get out.
That's cool.
Get out.
That's cool.
On the air. And I was like, and then I played the lick.
Cool.
And that's the greatest thing about, all of the guys, Bill Weston, Nancy Plummer, they've been so good to me, because I have yet to get called in the office and yelled at for something I did.
Now, is your show like your show then? Like, in other words, they say, as long as you don't do this, and this, have fun.
They don't even tell me what I fill in for Tony Harris.
Okay.
Which is a beautiful shift to have, because like I said, both Tony and Andre, Tony was much more technical with me, and Tony almost kind of picked up, as if my dad was still alive today, Tony is doing what my dad would have done if I got this gig. Because if my dad was alive and I went home and I said, hey Dad, I just got MGK, he'd be like, well, let's have a bunch of beer and I'm going to tell you what to do. And Tony's been that mentor to me, where he'll sit me down and he's always there. He's always my lifeline. Like if something's going crazy in the studio at 11:30 at night, I can pick up my phone and just speed dial Tony.
Right.
Which has happened a few times, and he's always been there. He's always been like, hey, he's such that entire family of those, they're just so amazing. They've been so good to me, and I'm sitting there going, it's like when I first got the Philly 500. I got the Philly 500 for the first time, and Andre Gardner comes in. He goes, "Dude, you're being hazed." Oh my god! Because they were like, "Okay, here's the Philly 500. Here's the list of songs. Find them on Zeta and load them up, and you got to talk between everyone. Hey, have a good show. See you later." And
we're going to a picnic.
We're going to a picnic.
Right.
Do you follow a playlist?
Huh?
Do you follow a playlist, or do you play what you want to play?
I follow a playlist, but there are times that sometimes I might be I'm one of those, I think, and this might be one of the reasons they keep me around, is because I'm very mathematical. So I keep my show I've zeroed out my shows before, like I'm nuts about that. I don't know why. It's kind of an obsession. So what I'll do is sometimes I'll run early. I'll be like, oh, and then that's when I have some fun, and I go in and I pull up some of my favorite tunes. But I'm very careful when I do that, because I want to make sure there's continuity, because obviously we're playing 60s, 70s, 80s. Now we're playing 90s.
Yeah.
So I make sure if I have to put a song in to get my set to zero out, I'll see what I played before then, and I see what's going to come up after that. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to I don't want to throw in an 80s song if I just played one. So,
right.
So I'll do a little bit of, and that's like, that's just stuff that I kind of feel as I go. But and when I do sometimes I don't do this all the time, but sometimes when I do my intro, I edit it down Flash Gordon, the movie.
Yeah.
And remember this because I'm not on regularly. Like when I'm on, I'm on for a good period of time, like a week or two, and then I'll be off for a couple of weeks. So that scene where that one scene where the character goes, Gordon's alive.
Yes.
So I edited that in. So you hear that dun, 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 Gordon's alive, and then flash, and then I come on. I'm like, hey, yeah, that's right. I'm still here.
I just watched that movie. Literally, me and my daughter just watched that movie last week because that is one of the greatest movies ever made.
Awesome.
He's like, Gordon's alive. You know,
I saw that in the theaters.
Is that one of your drops? Gordon's alive?
Yeah, that's what he just said. Are you on the show, Rob? Did you hear him talk about that?
Yeah, I didn't hear him say that.
No.
I do have a question for you, Chris, that
Yeah.
I think everybody would be interested in hearing. I had another friend of mine who also used to DJ for me who told me that at night, I actually went in one night and hung out with him, and I think I told you this, Dan.
Yeah.
That, the guy used to get phone calls from like women a lot, and they flirt with him and be like talking dirty. What are you doing afterwards? You know, I mean, and then he would joke back with them and talk so much shit. Do you have that kind of fun on the phone at all?
No, women steer clear of me. No, it doesn't happen. Well, they probably know my wife, so they're like, not
totally steering clear. Well, we're gonna play. We're gonna have some fun right
now, guys. I remember my days in Wi-Fi 92. That was all.
Real quick, I know you want to get into something here, but real quick, because I know we've kind of talked about our personas. I just interested to know, especially you and Ray, since we've all, obviously Chris can chime in on this if he hasn't really touched on it, but what would you say really defined your personality and what you did on your show?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
You're asking me.
You, Ray, Chris, whatever.
Yeah.
What was something that you would say that you were known for? More than anything else? Was there a particular quirk or something?
I did not have a catchphrase. I can tell this much. I did not have a catchphrase at all. And understand too, when I got into it, unlike today, we had true top 40 radio. So my inspirations were like Terry Young, and
Terry Young.
and the Motor Mouth was like a big inspiration for me. I used to at least listen to Eagle 106, religiously back then. So those types of jobs, and then obviously DeBella, later on Howard Stern, that type of thing. So by the time I was on, I was just starting to get into Howard Stern when I was also listening to all these other rock jocks and stuff like that. So I had the, hey, everybody, blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing, and I had that DJ voice. And that vernacular that we use, but when I got into like an inner monologue and stuff like that, if rather than saying like I have a cue card up and I'm like bah, 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 like as soon as I had that down and when I figured out, don't plan it out, just you have a thought, say it, and if you are articulate enough, which blessing, knock on wood, I was. You'll get your thought out, that type of thing. And when I did that, then before you know it, I wasn't doing any kind of preparation for shows other than grabbing my music and
standing on your feet.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Doing I have that blessing that I can do something real quick. Rob and I, we do the show a lot. A lot of times, a lot of the quicks that come in or stuff that I come up with right then and there. That thing. I've been blessed with that. Not a lot of people have that, and I was blessed with it. And I don't take it for granted. I try not to take it for granted because it is a skill that I was given, but it's something where, I'm able to picture the wall and talk to that wall, and I'm the only audience member in my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Now, Ray, how about you? What would you say was something that would define your show? Something people knew would happen in your show?
What I would do is back in the day, and I did have a call thing. It was like the doctor will see you now, and there's a doctor's appointment and stuff like that. I would make sure that if somebody called in, I got to know people by names because I also have like the personality, and I also like Dan, very quick with one-liners. Well, I would talk about Wildwood and everything about Wildwood, and if you said something about, oh well, Max Pizza was really good today, people would call in and say, oh yeah, like all 43 of us went. So the next day you would go, hi, it's Dr. Rock. Don't forget to stop by Max Pizza. So you would get to be where you would become, same as the Chris was saying about radio, part of the community. You were no longer just a DJ Jock. You were part of that community. So people could relate to you and have fun with you, and then you would have fun with them, and you would make like it almost would be like a Cheers thing. You would get to know people by like their names. Right. So they would call in and say, hey, Chris, I got to also tell you, at least WMGK plays Grand Funk Railroad for classic rock. And I think that they never got the credit they deserve. So I would always do like songs that people liked. I never followed like a protocol, because back in the 70s, you could do what you liked. Yeah. And as long as you either lived or died by that, if you died by it, you also suffered because you died. But the thing, if you became like, you know, like put on a Yes song for like 23 days and it ended next Tuesday, that wasn't. But you would.
You know what though? And you know what though, Ray? Capitalizing on what you're saying, and I think with Rob being a slight exception, because Rob did host a TV game show, that type of thing, so he still had that MC in him and stuff like that. But being a radio jock and developing. Right, and developing that personality and in a way having to be forced to develop a personality of sorts to be comfortable with. I think that's what makes guys like Ray, myself, Rob, Matt, like desirable DJs in comparison to send me somebody.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Now, see, one of the things that I did, and the reason I bring it up is because I was just interested because kind of see what you guys did, because I know again doing college radio. Yeah, I was always known for doing, I wouldn't say just personally myself, as far as my own voice and so much, but kind of antics type stuff with my broadcast. Perfect example, one day I'm queuing up. I was going to play Iron Man from Black Sabbath. Yeah. And I'm queuing it up on the turntable. So I'm just spinning it back to get it queued up. And one of the other jocks walked in, and I had it on the monitors, and he says, "What the heck was that?" I was like, it's Iron Man. He says, that sounded really cool. So it's like, okay, it's metal, the whole, backwards mass lyric thing. When I started it, I queued it up, passed it, and I backspun it.
Yeah.
Okay. So it actually played the I Am Iron Man backwards and then hit start on the turntable. So it basically plays it backwards, kind of drags up, and it was perfectly timed too, because it really picked up exactly where he says, I am Iron Man.
Right.
And people loved it. There's people started coming into the studio because, again, we were connected to the lounge, but the phones were ringing. People come. It's like, dude, that was awesome. That was crazy. And I'd play drops in between songs, or, again, we had to play PSAs, and you do an anti-smoking PSA. I'd put a drop in from Johnny Dangerously, where he gives us the mother of the ashtray, and she's like, bless the saints, it's an ashtray. I've been taking up smoking, this clinches it. And it was like always either something that really related to the song I just played, or totally opposite of something. Yeah. And I was just wondering kind of like what you guys did that kind of defined your show. What's this what?
We used to the weird thing with me. The weird thing with me was that the thing that still endears to this day, which is fascinating, is that I'm even on text when they come through the vibes. They still call me Viking. Yes, they still refer to me as the Viking. The other thing is that I finally kind of found out. I found my closing thing, like before I go to commercial. I found the thing that resonates with people, which is stay close, my friends. Because I want them to be back for the next rock block. So I kind of that was, as you were saying earlier, like that kind of inner monologue where it becomes organic. And I think you're right. That was really it, where I just started to relax. And I said, you know what? And a lot of it, again, not to get metaphysical, but when I go into that studio, I always feel that Dad's with me. It's in the same building. It's like he's here. So I'm not alone, in a way. And I'm not a religious person, and I don't subscribe to anything. But when I'm in that room, when you were talking about when you're looking at the wall or your inner monologue, I'm just hanging out with Dad, having a few beers, metaphysically. You know.
This tells you how old I am, though, Chris. I remember your dad. I remember the Ken Garland thing. I remember WPEN and stuff.
You
like
remember
that.
Ray, you remember the Last Supper. Shut the hell up.
You know what?
Okay.
I remember your closing phrase, I need money. But you know what? It's okay.
I do. But I do. That's not a phrase. It's a moral live by.
Go ahead, Dan.
We're gonna do two things. I got two things I'm gonna do. We're gonna do two games here, and what I want you to do, Chris, is I want you to be a program director in charge of hiring and firing DJs. Okay, and what I want everybody to do, Matt, Rob, Ray, and myself, we're gonna do a quick call out to a commercial to go, to go to break.
Okay.
It could be from any station, guys. So if you want to do Q102, if you want to do 102.9, 93.3, whatever it is, try and use the call letters, all right? And do just like we're going to be back from the back to the not coming out of the break, but going into the break.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Matt, you start. I'm going to bring you up big. And you choose any station that you
Okay,
want.
geez. All right.
Is it at the end of the song?
Yeah, at the end of the song, you're going to go to break.
All right. So you guys, you ready?
Yes.
Hey, Matt Stone, 640 WDCR. We're going to go ahead and take a commercial break here real quick. And come on back. The craziness will continue in just a few moments.
Okay, there you go.
Very
How
good.
do you like that? You like that? Do we like that?
That was really good.
Okay, now, Rob, would you like to go next?
No, Sunray.
Right. right.
Leave the rookie for last.
Right. Go ahead.
All right, hi, that was Dr. Rock. I'm great to be with you guys today. It's 10:45 in the morning. That was the Beatles, Hey Jude. Don't forget to check us out. Come on back.
I think that was good. I like that. Do you like that? Okay.
Nice.
Rob, you want to go now?
No.
Okay.
Oh, have fun with it, Rob. Come on.
Rob, do it. Just Rob.
Come on, Rick. Do it,
Rob,
Rick.
I'm trying to think.
Get it out of the way, Rob.
I can't even think of anything.
Listen to it. Rob, I'll give you a station. Q102. Go ahead.
All right. I haven't listened to that in a while, but
That's all you listen to.
yeah.
Yeah.
We've established he doesn't listen to anything.
JYW.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I can't think, Dan.
KYW time 10:46.
See, this is
Oh my God.
Today.
this is why Rob has never actually done radio.
Yes.
Well, this is that was a flashback. KY.
Did you like that? Did you like that?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Come on, Rob. Do something. Do
I
something.
can't think of
Go to break. Go to break, Rob.
Be right back with
We'll
you
be
guys.
back
Hold on.
right after this. Thanks for listening. I don't know.
Rob, you're so fired.
I know. I am not. I wasn't prepared for that. Like I said, I wasn't prepared for that, man. I'm not
Okay.
ready, so I can't think. of
Okay, let me go here. Okay, let me think. Okay, here we go.
I thought you left them at the store.
Oh my God. Got Joanne giving problems on our show here today. All right, here we
I thought that Alexa started talking by herself after I
go.
said
Did
about.
she?
I thought about Hey Jude with the Beatles. I thought it started playing like a.
Oh, jeez.
All right. go ahead.
Okay. Okay, here we go. You ready? All right, coming up after the break, we have Springsteen, Tom Petty, and more right here on the Classic Rock Station 102.9 MGK.
Nice.
Very good.
There you go.
There you
had
go.
time to
That's how you
practice.
do it. I do.
Well, because Dan has been thinking about it all morning.
I've been thinking about MGK. Well, when I do like in my head, I always do MGK because I listen to MGK when I listen to radio.
I do too.
But like for whatever reason, the call letters, and I love the way certain guys on that station go to break, especially like DeBella, as an example, Andre Gardner, stuff like that. Like I love when it's like, we'll be back right at the break, right here on the Classic Rock Station 102.9 MGK.
Bam.
It's like boom, just nail the post and get out.
Yep.
I feel like
So-
we're here for Danny's job interview with Chris.
I
I
know,
think
Yeah,
that's-
I don't know.
We're just trying to get Chris's job.
Well, one of the tricks that I do.
Oh,
Look, there I am.
I got you. Yep, that was me.
I don't. Philadelphia's Classic Rock 102.9 MGK, and I'll talk. I'll say Fleetwood Mac, and then I'll say what's coming up, but I don't say I'm going into a break. I never say that.
Okay, that's good.
I say, Led Zeppelin's on the other side of this. Stay close, my friends. Bam. And
That's a good idea.
I picked that up from somebody because in my very first broadcast, I did this old thing where I was like, oh, we're gonna take a short pause for the cause. And then I would start my, pre-sell to the next break or the next set.
Yeah.
Somebody came up to me in the hall and they're like, maybe you shouldn't do that. And I was like, why? And they're like, well, you've already told them that you're going to be breaking. So they might go just change the channel anyway at that point, So I was like, oh, let's see. So I turned it around and I went, hey, Philadelphia's Classic Rock 102.9 MGK. Chris Gordon with you here tonight. I'm having a blast. Led Zeppelin is coming up. Man, you got to hang out for this set. Stay close, my friends. And then the commercial blasts.
Yeah.
And what I found was over time, when the numbers came back in, people just hung out.
That's awesome.
Or to hang out because
damn good idea.
Because they didn't know. They didn't know it was coming.
Like you're hanging out with a friend, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How is the nighttime ratings, Chris? There.
I don't actually see the numbers,
Right.
Personally, but
They got to be good. You're still there, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's
When
the
you
key,
know when the numbers are good when they don't come after you or talking or worry
It's
about
always the
If they're
DJ
bad,
that
they'll
takes
find
the
you.
ball.
When I
Not the
find
shit
myself
music they tell you to play
when I
sometimes.
find myself driving into the station, I'm like, I guess something's working.
Yeah,
But,
That's awesome.
It's like it's that old metaphor. It's like when you're getting called into the office. It's like either A, this is really really good, or I should start packing.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Hey, by the way, the guy dancing behind Matt and Ray has to be dizzy as a motherfucker right now.
I think so, man.
He's about to say, he's getting me dizzy. All right, we got another game right here, real quick. I want to bring you up real quick. Now, this game is going to be the first thing that comes off your head, not the first thing that comes off your head, but your first answer, like your gut answer. There's only two answers, an A and a B.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you, and then you're going to say this one or that one. Okay.
Okay. Good.
Real simple. It's real simple. It's real
Took
simple.
the pressure.
I did. All right. So here we go. Here's a good one. Heather Thomas or Heather Locklear?
Oh, Jesus Christ! I'm going to go with Locklear.
There you go. Okay. Fall Guy or $6 Million Man?
$6 Million Man.
There you go.
Yeah.
Steven Tyler or Stephen Perry?
I'm going to go with Stephen Perry.
Look at that, Matt. There you go.
That's weird. I'm going to go with that.
That's Matt's man right there.
That's my technical mind going.
There you go. Hip hop music or Nickelback karaoke?
Oh, hip hop music.
Why does Nickelback get a bad break?
I know. I like them.
Get it.
Well, no. I'm sorry. Hold on. It wasn't. It was Nickelback
Karaoke. That's right.
Yeah, see that's the defining thing.
Chris, if you talk to anybody about Nickelback, they go, "Oh God, they suck." They write.
I like them.
They do. I think their guitar player is awesome.
They write great, nice,
I think so.
Yeah.
candy songs. It's great. It's like
I like them.
I said it. I think it was a
Must
post
be
on
a karaoke.
Facebook. It was Facebook posted. Ray posted something about listen to Nickelback, and I said it seems like everybody hates them, but they still sell plenty of albums.
Yeah.
And you got to take them for what they are. They're a fun radio band. Are these guys going to make the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Probably not.
Well,
No.
But it's just but hey, they write good catchy songs that are fun to just kind of jam out to.
show. That's right.
Burn it to the ground, baby.
You know what? And they are produced well. I mean, the production.
They are.
quality,
They are.
they're well produced.
Now, Flash Gordon or Highlander?
Oh, you suck! I can't believe you did it to me. Oh. Okay, I'm going to go with Flash Gordon, but I have to make an addendum
Okay.
because Highlander also had the Queen soundtrack. I'm a massive
Right.
Queen fan. I
am too.
am to Queen what Andre Gardner is to the Beatles.
Yes.
So,
I love Queen.
oh
Yeah.
my God,
3 times, twice.
But Highlander, but as campy as Flash Gordon was, it's so endearing. So
Yes.
I'm going to go with Flash Gordon. Flash Gordon.
Well, Flash Gordon, I think, was more fun than Highlander, but Highlander was such a love story for a man.
I no, you
Yeah.
know what? Flash Gordon was more fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it work. And
Yeah.
I don't think that it. I think they played on that. They
Oh, yeah.
played on that. Yeah. So no, Flash Gordon.
Okay, so now let me see if I get another one here. This is going to be an easy one. Radio Shift or band gig at a bar with 6 people in it?
Radio shift.
There you go. And,
Here's one for you: Teletubbies or the Smurfs.
for me? Oh,
Yep.
Smurf. Oh, Smurf. Easily the Smurfs. Easily the Smurfs. Let's see here. Action cartoons or comedy sitcom kid shows. Non-cartoon.
Repeat that one more time.
Action cartoons or comedy kid sitcoms.
Oh,
You're
action
live.
cartoons.
Yeah.
Action cartoons.
There you go. There you go.
Yep.
Your wife or 10 groupies who will not call you tomorrow.
My wife.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah,
That's a
got it,
good
man.
answer. That's a good
Smart
answer.
man.
You have to know my
Smart
wife
man.
to know that answer.
And what would your answer been just now?
Well, they did say not call me tomorrow. So, I mean, that's a really good possibility.
Your wife doesn't listen to this show either.
I would say they would be like, yeah, she doesn't listen to the show. And
Did you
I would
hear-
just simply say, my name's Rob Cannon. That's Cannon.
Yeah.
But no, I think that was fun. I think we had good fun with that.
That was fun.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I came up with that this morning. But no, what a great time. Thank you for coming on. I really do appreciate it.
was really an honor
thanks
to
for
meet,
having
man.
me.
Thank you
It's
so much.
great. Now you're what is your shift? Your weekdays and is it Monday through Friday or what is it?
It's I'm in for Tony on the weeknights from 7 to midnight.
7 to midnight. Okay, there we go. And obviously you can get on there. It's 102.9 MGK. Great station, by the way. It's honestly just a fantastic station.
Yeah.
Especially if you like classic rock. It's one of those things that like I said, I listen to all the time. So I love listening to it. And then guys, remember, hit that notification bell down below and make sure you're hitting the subscribe button and make sure you're telling all your friends, because right here on the DJB Productions Network, this is DJs After Dark. For Rob Cannon, for Matt Sunner, for Dr. Rock Ray Thomas, and
Remember to get her name.
for 102.9 MGK Rock Jock Chris Gordon, my name is Danny J. Until next time, we'll see you after dark.
See ya.
See you guys.
Looks like the sun's coming up. Was that as good for you as it was for me? Join us next time for DJs After Dark.